Sean Combs's federal charges. What we know. A day after being arrested, Mr. Combs was charged with running a criminal enterprise that included sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. The hip-hop mogul Sean Combs was charged with sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution in federal court in Manhattan on Tuesday, one day after being arrested. Mr. Combs, 54, pleaded not guilty to the charges and will remain in custody as he awaits trial. A magistrate judge denied his legal team's request for bail on Tuesday, citing Mr. Combs's anger issues and history of substance abuse, and a district judge upheld the decision on Wednesday, saying that Mr. Combs posed a risk of witness tampering and was a danger to the safety of the community. Mr. Combs built a career as a high-profile music producer and artist, and for decades has been lauded as one of the architects of hip-hop's commercial rise. But his legacy has become interlaced with accusations of sexual violence. A series of civil lawsuits over the past year accusing him of sexual assault and other allegations of sexual misconduct spilled into public view, and his business empire began to crumble as he became the subject of a federal investigation. In March, federal agents raided 2 of his homes in Los Angeles and Miami Beach. Where is Mr. Combs being held? Because he has been denied bail, Mr. Combs has been ordered held at a federal detention center in Brooklyn until trial, though his lawyers may still try to appeal that ruling further. He is currently at Metropolitan Detention Center, a hulking concrete structure in Brooklyn that houses more than 1,200 people. It has a reputation for poor conditions, and his lawyers have called it horrific, but federal officials have said improvements have been made. Special precautions are typically taken with high-profile defendants like Mr. Combs, and he has been assigned to a special housing unit. Why did Mr. Combs get arrested? Prosecutors said in an indictment that Mr. Combs has been the mastermind of a sprawling criminal enterprise since at least 2008 that included his employees and engaged in kidnapping, forced labor, arson, and bribery. According to the government, Mr. Combs used force, threats, and coercion to manipulate women into what he called freak-offs, highly orchestrated performances of sexual activity in hotels and other locations that were fueled by drugs and could last for days. At these events, the government says, women were plied with drugs to keep them obedient and coerced to participate in sex with male prostitutes, some of whom were transported over state lines. Prosecutors said Mr. Combs would watch these events, sometimes while masturbating and recording video. According to the government, Mr. Combs used those recordings as collateral to maintain a culture of silence and obedience. They also said the women believed they could not refuse his demands without physical or emotional abuse, or without fearing that their financial or job security would be put at risk. Prosecutors alleged that Mr. Combs maintained control over women by tracking their location, dictating their appearance, monitoring their medical information, and supplying them with drugs. Mr. Combs was charged with 1 count of racketeering conspiracy, which carries a maximum sentence of life in prison, 1 count of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, which carries a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years in prison, and 1 count of transportation for purposes of prostitution, which carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison.